Level 1, Week 3 of Training. The room has no windows. Fluorescent lights buzz softly above rows of identical desks. The air smells faintly of old paper and overheated electronics. You sit at Terminal 14. A badge clipped to your chest identifies you as a Junior Intelligence Analyst, Clearance Tier 2. Your job description is simple. Listen, translate, categorize. Thousands of intercepted signals move through the system every hour. Radio fragments, satellite transmissions, broken conversations carried across invisible waves. Most of them are meaningless, but the system does not care about meaning. The system cares about classification. Threat level 1, threat level 2, threat level 3. Numbers decide everything. On the screen in front of you, a recording begins to play. Static, wind. Then a voice speaking in a dialect you studied during training. You type quickly, translating the words line by line. The conversation sounds ordinary. Two men discussing shipments arriving next week. Nothing dramatic, nothing urgent. You scroll down to the final step. Risk classification. A small drop-down menu appears. Level 1, routine. Level 2, monitor. Level 3, escalate. You hesitate for a moment. Then a shadow falls across your desk. A senior analyst stands behind you. He has been working in this room for nearly a decade. His badge carries 3 additional clearance markers. He leans slightly closer to the screen. Shipment logistics, he says quietly. Border region. He taps the desk once. Level 2 would probably be safer. You look back at the transcript. There's no clear threat, no explicit plan. Just 2 men talking about cargo schedules. You say that quietly. The analyst shrugs. Funding review is next quarter, he says. If threat indicators look low, surveillance programs get reduced. He straightens up. Level 2 keeps the monitoring active. Then he walks away. You stare at the screen again. It is only a number, just a classification inside a database, a minor adjustment in the system. Your cursor moves slowly. Level 1, routine. You pause. Then you remember something from orientation. Intelligence failures happen when analysts underestimate risk. Your cursor shifts downward. Level 2, monitor. You click. The system processes the entry immediately. Somewhere in the building, another server updates the district's surveillance profile. Satellite coverage increases. Data collection expands. Facial recognition cameras in nearby streets begin recording every passing vehicle. Hundreds of civilians, shop owners, drivers, students are quietly added to a monitoring queue. You do not see any of this happen. Your screen simply moves to the next file. Another recording begins, static again, more voices, more coordinates. Across the room, dozens of analysts continue working in silence, keyboards clicking, headphones humming, an invisible machine processing the world one signal at a time. Your phone vibrates softly in your pocket. A message appears. Your partner. Is the new job exciting? You stare at the words for a moment, then type a short reply. Mostly paperwork. You put the phone away and return to the screen. Another classification menu appears. Level 1, Level 2, Level 3. Numbers. You select 1. And somewhere far away, a system quietly adjusts the lives of people who will never know your name. Level 2, Year 2. 2 years pass. The windowless room is gone. You now work inside Signals Division. The facility is deeper inside the compound, behind 2 additional security checkpoints. Here the air is colder, the lights dimmer. Rows of enormous monitors cover the wall. Thousands of encrypted transmissions pass through the system every second. Fiber optic cables, satellite relays, private communication networks that circle the planet. Most people imagine intelligence work as spies in dark alleys. In reality, it looks like this. Algorithms, data streams, pattern recognition. Your workstation controls one small section of the network. The system flags unusual activity automatically. Your role is simple: approve, escalate, ignore. A new alert appears on your screen. Pattern anomaly detected. The message originates from a private communications channel moving through an offshore data hub. Encrypted financial terms appear in the transcript. Shipment codes, currency transfers, port references. The algorithm highlights several phrases in red. Potential logistics network activity. You open the classification panel. Escalation to field operations would trigger surveillance teams, asset tracking, possibly arrests. Your cursor hovers over the authorization button. Then your internal phone rings. You answer. Your supervisor's voice is calm. Signal ID 7843, he says. You check the code. It matches the flag transmission. That one stays internal, he continues. You hesitate. The algorithm flagged it as suspicious. Yes, he says. We know. A short pause fills the line. Then he adds something else. That communication belongs to an informal asset. You understand what that means. The person behind the message is technically involved in illegal networks, but they are useful. Information flows through them, contacts, deals, routes. Removing them would disrupt intelligence access to a much larger network. Your supervisor speaks again. Close the alert. No escalation. The call ends. You stare at the transcript again. The words on the screen are unmistakable. Black market shipments, unregistered funds, evidence of a criminal broker moving resources across multiple borders. Your training taught you something very simple. Intelligence work exists to uncover truth, but now another lesson becomes clearer. Truth is not always the objective. Sometimes usefulness is more valuable. Your cursor moves slowly. Instead of escalation, you mark the alert as resolved. The system archives the file. No field teams deploy. No investigation begins. Somewhere in the world, the broker continues moving shipments through hidden financial channels. Money flows through shell companies. Funds move into quiet accounts used by people who never appear in official reports. A parallel economy continues operating beneath the visible one, and your system keeps watching it, but never stopping it. Later that evening, you leave the compound. The sun is already setting, your phone rings, your younger sibling. You answer while walking through the parking structure. They ask about your job. You pause. 2 years ago, you would have explained the training, the analysis, the importance of national security. Now the words feel different. You simply say, I can't talk about work. They laugh slightly. What do you even do all day? You look back at the compound building. Behind those concrete walls, millions of private communications are being analyzed right now. Some will trigger investigations, some will trigger operations, and some will quietly disappear into archived files. You answer calmly. National security requires silence. The call ends. You sit in your car for a moment before starting the engine. 2 years ago, the system felt mechanical. Just numbers, just signals. Now you understand something else. The intelligence world does not operate on simple rules. It operates on balances. Some criminals are stopped, some are watched, and some are allowed to continue because the information they generate is more valuable than the laws they break. You drive away from the compound. Behind you, deep inside the signals division servers, another transmission is already moving through the cables, another decision waiting to be made. Level 3, Year 6. 6 years into the system, your desk changes again. You no longer sit in analysis rooms or signal monitoring centers. Now you work inside the operations command floor. The room is enormous. A digital map covers the entire front wall. Satellite images shift slowly across the screen. Mountains, cities, empty desert roads. Red markers appear where intelligence indicates possible activity. Blue markers show friendly units already in the field. Dozens of analysts sit behind curved rows of desks, but their screens are no longer the most important thing in the room. At the center sits a single console, your console. Your title now reads, Field Operations Planner, Clearance Tier 4. Your responsibility is no longer interpretation. Your responsibility is authorization. Tonight the room is quiet. A drone feed flickers on one of the wall screens. A large warehouse stands alone near an industrial road. Satellite data suggests it may be used as a logistics hub for a smuggling network. Cargo trucks were seen arriving earlier. Your analysts have been studying the location for 3 days. One of them speaks. Confidence level 60%. You nod slowly. 60% means the intelligence is incomplete. Possible activity. possible targets, not certainty. Another screen shows the drone's infrared camera. Inside the warehouse, several heat signatures move between stacks of containers. You zoom in, figures walking, lifting crates. Someone checks a clipboard near the entrance, normal activity. Or criminal logistics. The difference is difficult to see from 10,000 feet above. A message appears on your secure terminal. Asset warning. Your informant inside the network has sent a message. If the operation is delayed, their identity may be exposed. A delay could cost the agency its only source inside the organization. Your internal phone rings. Command, you answer. The target window is closing, the voice says calmly. You look back at the screens. Intelligence confidence is 60%, you reply. A pause. Then the voice answers. Your asset confirms shipments are active tonight. You know what that means. If you hesitate, the trucks may leave, the warehouse may empty, and the network will disappear again, into the shadows. But if the intelligence is wrong, the drone camera zooms closer. Several more heat signatures appear near the back of the building. Workers? Guards? The analysts wait for your decision. No one speaks, because the system is designed this way. Only one person authorizes the strike. You. 6 years ago, you classified radio signals. Now you classify outcomes. Your cursor moves across the screen. Strike authorization panel. A small message appears. Confirm operational action. You pause for a moment. Somewhere at home, your child is probably asleep by now. Earlier today, they showed you a drawing from school. You in uniform, standing tall, heroic, a protector. You remember smiling and putting the picture on the refrigerator. The room around you waits silently, dozens of analysts. Satellite systems, a drone circling miles above a quiet building, all of it waiting for one command. Your command. You exhale slowly. Then you press authorize. The drone feed shifts. Instantly, a small missile detaches from the wing. It falls silently through the darkness. 3 seconds later, the screen flashes white. The warehouse disappears inside a violent explosion. The building collapses into a cloud of fire and dust. Your analysts immediately begin collecting post-strike data, infrared scans, damage assessments. Within minutes, the report appears on your screen. Target structure destroyed. Several heat signatures remain motionless beneath the rubble. The system marks them as unconfirmed affiliations. No names, no identities, just numbers. Command sends a final message. Mission status, successful. You sit quietly for a moment. The room continues moving around you. New data appears, new alerts arrive. Somewhere far away, smoke is still rising from the destroyed building, and the system has already moved on to the next operation. You stare at the blank authorization panel on your screen. 6 years ago, you believed intelligence work was about understanding the world. Now you understand something else. Sometimes intelligence does not observe the world. Sometimes it changes it. And tonight, you gave the order. Level 4. Year 11. 11 years inside the system and the battlefield disappears. Your new office contains no maps of combat zones, no drone feeds, no strike authorization panels. Instead, your desk is covered with something else. Economic reports, media briefings, diplomatic cables. War, you have learned, rarely begins with soldiers. It begins with pressure. You now oversee a department called Strategic Influence Programs. The name sounds harmless, but its purpose is precise. Identify weak points inside foreign governments, apply pressure quietly, sometimes through information, sometimes through money, sometimes through both. Your office sits on the upper floors of the intelligence compound. From here, the work feels almost abstract. Numbers on spreadsheets, graphs showing currency fluctuations, briefing folders describing political factions inside distant capitals. No explosions, no visible violence, only influence. One morning, a classified report arrives on your desk. A regional government overseas is beginning to align itself with rival economic partners. Your agency's leadership views this shift as a strategic threat. Your assignment is simple: Destabilize the political coalition responsible for the change, not with weapons, with funding. You review the proposed operation. A chain of shell corporations has already been prepared. Consulting firms, investment funds, philanthropic foundations, all technically private organizations, none directly connected to your agency. Money will move quietly through these companies, then appear inside the accounts of activist groups, media organizations, and political rivals inside the target country. Officially, it will look like independent support. In reality, it will be something else, a lever. You lean back in your chair and study the proposal. Your role now is not operational, your role is authorization. You ask your analysts one question. What happens if the government collapses? One analyst answers calmly. Short-term instability is likely. Another adds a second line to the briefing. Long-term alignment may shift in our favor. In other words, the chaos would be temporary. Strategic advantage would be permanent. Your cursor moves slowly toward the authorization panel. You remember something from your early years inside intelligence. Every system has pressure points. Push them hard enough, and structures break. Your inner voice speaks quietly. Pressure is just strategy. Pressure is necessary. Pressure maintains balance. But another thought appears behind it. Pressure breaks people. Your secure phone buzzes. A news alert appears. Protests have already begun inside the foreign capital. Political tensions rising. Your analysts watch the situation closely. If the protests grow larger, the government will weaken quickly. Your screen waits for your decision. Approve the financial pipeline, or stop the operation. You already know which choice the system expects. Your finger taps the keyboard. Authorization confirmed. Within hours, millions of dollars begin moving through the shell companies. The money flows quietly across multiple banking networks. By the end of the week, several organizations inside the foreign capital receive new funding. Activist groups expand their demonstrations. Media outlets amplify accusations against government officials. Political rivals gain sudden financial support. The pressure increases. Protests spread through the city. Government buildings fill with crowds. Police lose control of the streets. 3 months later, the government collapses. Emergency elections are announced. International news channels show images of burning barricades and overwhelmed border crossings. Thousands of civilians flee the region as instability spreads. Inside your office, another briefing arrives. Strategic objective achieved. The new leadership appears far more cooperative. Your analysts mark the operation as successful. That evening, you return home, late. Your partner sits on the couch watching the news. The same protests appear on the screen. Smoke rising over crowded streets. Your partner glances toward you. Did you see what's happening over there? You nod quietly. They shake their head. It's terrible. So many people losing their homes. You sit down beside them but say nothing, because somewhere inside a quiet financial system, a trail of transactions still exists. Shell companies, investment funds, consulting firms, all of them eventually pointing back to a single authorization code, the one you entered 3 months ago. You turn off the television. Outside, the night is quiet. Inside the intelligence system, another report is already waiting on your desk. Another government, another pressure point, another decision. Because by year 11, you have learned the final lesson of intelligence work. Wars are no longer fought only with weapons. Sometimes they are fought with money, information, and silence. Level 5, year 17. 17 years inside the system. Your office is no longer in the operations floor. Now you sit at the top level of the compound. Your title reads Deputy Director of Strategic Intelligence. The command room is large and quiet. A circular table dominates the center. Around it sit representatives from multiple institutions: military leadership, government security advisors, private defense contractors, corporate security consultants. Most of them wear suits. A few wear uniforms. All of them wait for your briefing. 17 years ago, your job was to interpret signals. Now your job is to define threats. Presentation screen activates. Satellite images appear across the wall. Trade routes, energy pipelines, military installations across distant regions. Your analysts have prepared the report carefully. Several emerging risks are highlighted in red. New alliances forming between foreign states, expanding cyber capabilities, military research programs increasing funding. Some of these risks are real, some are theoretical, some are simply possible futures. But in the intelligence world, possibilities are powerful, because possibilities justify preparation. Preparation requires funding, and funding moves enormous industries. Before the meeting begins, you receive a private call. The caller represents a large defense consortium. Their companies manufacture surveillance systems, advanced drones, and missile defense platforms. They speak politely, but the message is direct. A major procurement review is approaching. If the threat environment appears stable, several weapons programs may be reduced. But if the intelligence report identifies escalating risks, governments will approve expanded military budgets, billions in new contracts. The caller ends with a simple statement. Accurate threat projections benefit everyone involved. The line goes silent. You place the phone down slowly. In theory, intelligence analysis should remain neutral. In practice, it rarely is. 17 years inside the system have taught you something uncomfortable. Threats are not always discovered. Sometimes they are framed. The meeting begins. All eyes turn toward you. You stand and begin the briefing. Your presentation highlights several developing dangers, strategic rivalries intensifying, technological competition increasing, regional instability expanding. None of the statements are completely false, but each one emphasizes the worst possible interpretation. Risk curves appear higher. Conflict probabilities rise. Military preparedness becomes the logical response. Around the table, the representatives take notes. Some exchange quiet glances. They understand exactly what this report means. By the end of the meeting, one conclusion is clear. The global security environment is deteriorating. Immediate investment in advanced defense systems is recommended. The meeting ends. Within months, governments approve massive procurement contracts. New weapons programs launch. Surveillance systems expand across multiple continents. Billions of dollars move through defense corporations. Private contractors begin building the next generation of military technology. And the intelligence report that justified it all traces back to one document, the one you approved. That evening you return home late again. Your family is already eating dinner. Your child looks up from the table. The television in the corner shows another news broadcast. More headlines about rising tensions between nations. Your child asks a simple question. Why do wars keep happening? You pause before answering. 17 years ago, you believed intelligence prevented conflict. Now you understand something far more complicated. Sometimes intelligence manages fear, and fear fuels preparation. Preparation fuels industry. Industry fuels power. You look at your child and choose the simplest response, because the world is complicated. They nod slowly, accepting the answer. But you know the truth is heavier than that. Far away, factories are already producing new weapons. Military budgets are expanding. International alliances are hardening, all triggered by a report that interpreted possibilities as inevitabilities. You sit quietly at the dinner table. 17 years inside military intelligence have taught you the final lesson. The line between analysis and narrative disappeared long ago, and now entire nations prepare for war based on the story you helped write. Final level, Director of Strategic Intelligence. Decades pass. The compound has changed. New buildings, new security systems, new analysts sitting in the same windowless rooms where you once worked, but your office remains at the top floor, silent, isolated. Your title now reads Director of Strategic Intelligence. From here, you no longer monitor operations. You authorize them. Every morning, classified folders arrive on your desk. surveillance expansions, covert influence campaigns, economic pressure operations, psychological warfare programs. Each document carries a single empty space at the bottom. Authorization code. Your code. You sign quietly. One signature might expand surveillance across an entire region. Another might fund covert operations inside foreign governments. Another might quietly destabilize an economy. Entire geopolitical shifts now begin with a decision made inside your office. You rarely leave the compound anymore. The system runs continuously. Data flows through endless networks. Analysts produce reports. Commanders propose actions, and everything eventually arrives here. Your desk, your signature, your responsibility. Sometimes you think about the beginning, a small desk, a windowless analysis room, a single radio recording, a simple classification menu, level 1, level 2, level 3. At the time it felt like nothing, just numbers on a screen. You did not realize those numbers would eventually grow into something much larger. Decisions that would shape governments, wars, economies, entire generations. That evening, you return home later than usual. Your house is quiet. Your child is sitting at the kitchen table with a history textbook open. They glance up as you walk in. "We're studying international conflicts this week," they say. You nod slowly. They point at a chapter filled with maps and timelines. "Why do governments manipulate wars?" The question hangs in the air. Your child waits for an answer. You look at the pages. Descriptions of covert interventions, economic pressure campaigns, proxy conflicts between powerful nations, academic language explaining events that once appeared in classified briefings on your desk. Your child continues reading aloud. "Some historians believe intelligence agencies quietly influence global events." You remain silent, because somewhere inside the secure archives of your agency, the real documents still exist. Reports you approved, operations you authorized, financial pipelines you allowed, each one quietly shaping the events now printed inside that textbook. Your child closes the book. "I guess we'll never know the real story," they say. You nod slightly, because the real story sits locked behind layers of classification, inside a system that rarely reveals itself. Years later, you return to your office again. The compound outside is quiet. New analysts walk through the hallways, young recruits learning the same systems you once used. You sit alone at your desk. The latest briefing folder waits in front of you. Another decision, another authorization. But something feels different now. For the first time in decades, you pause before signing, because you finally understand the truth about the system you helped build. You once believed intelligence existed to protect the world, but after a lifetime inside it, the reality becomes clearer. Intelligence does not control chaos. It manages it. Sometimes it even creates it. Outside your office window, the compound continues operating perfectly. Analysts working, servers processing data, operations launching quietly across the globe. The machine no longer depends on any single person, not even you. You close the folder slowly, because the final realization arrives far too late. The network you helped build will continue operating for decades, and every part of it traces back to thousands of small decisions made long ago, back when it was only signals, only numbers, only a classification menu on a screen. Level 1, Level 2, Level 3. You lean back in your chair and stare at the silent compound outside. The system is functioning exactly as it was designed, and the world it quietly reshaped will never know how it truly began.